What is up, New Beginnings Church? Happy Tuesday morning to you. Welcome back to our devotional series, our walk through the book of James. And yes, this is our final week through the book of James. We're in James chapter 5. And if you missed yesterday, pause and go back and watch, because this whole chunk here, really verse 7 to 11, is all on the idea of patience. And here's what James says. He goes, "Therefore, be patient, brethren, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, waiting patiently for it until it receives the early and latter rain. You also be patient. Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is at hand." Verse 10, "My brethren, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord as an example of suffering and patience. Indeed, we count them blessed who endure. You have heard of the perseverance of Job and seen the end intended by the Lord, that the Lord is very compassionate and merciful." And so again, he's talking about patience. We talked about that yesterday. He uses those illustrations of the farmer, of the prophet, and of Job. And so he's saying, be patient. And I remember thinking about this when I was a dad and my son was just a wee little lad. I don't know how old he was, 4 or 5 years old or something like that. We're waiting in line and he's getting antsy and fidgety and messing with stuff and he's being impatient. I'm like, "Hey, would you chill out? I need you to be patient." And a 5-year-old looks at me with the most brilliant of questions. He goes, "Dad, what is patience?" And when you have to reduce something down to a 5-year-old, you have to think very simplistically. And so I said this, I said, well, patience is being calm while you wait. And I think for the Christ follower, we could even add to that and say, it's being calm and trusting in the Lord as we wait. And so James is giving us that big encouragement to be patient, to stay calm and trust in the Lord while we wait. And in this text, there's 3 real motivators for why we want to do that. Number one is this. It really comes out of verse number 8. He goes, "You also be patient, establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is at hand." Meaning like, hey, God's got this. God's got a plan. God's got a timing for it all. Or we could just say it like this. I want you to be patient because you know that God is in control. Because see, this is what happens when I get impatient. Well, number one, I lose my peace. I start getting angry. I start getting frustrated. But what I do is I jump ahead of God's best for my life. Really, impatience does that. Impatience says, "God, I know timing better than you know timing, so I'm going to do my own thing." And that's a way to wreck your future and to wreck your potential. And so James is saying, hey, be patient because you trust and know that God is in control. Number 2 is this. And it really comes out of verse 11. He says, "Indeed, we count them blessed who endure." And so everybody say that word, blessed. Blessed. There is a blessing that comes with patience. Because again, rather than saying, I know better and I know timing better than God knows timing, we wait and we discover, you know what? There's a blessing with patience because God's timing is better than my timing. God's plan is better than my plan. God's blessing is better than whatever it is that I can come up with. And so there's a blessing built in to patience. And then the other part is this, is we believe we want to be patient because God is going to bring about something great. And this goes back to that part of verse 11 here. Let's read it again. He goes, "You've heard of the perseverance of Job and seen that the end," meaning God's timing, "was better, and that the Lord is compassionate and merciful." And so, again, we talked about this on Sunday with the life of Job, that during Job's life and his season of trial and difficulty, some of his children died, and he lost crops, and he lost barns and houses. He lost everything pretty much. But at the end of the story, he's blessed, and he ends up with double the amount of wealth and even more children. I think he had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and that ends up being a lot of grandkids eventually. And so he literally had more at the end of his life than he even had at the beginning. And so again, just recognizing, you know what? God is in control. There's a reward because God is working things out. God is working things out. God has a plan. It's better than mine. And I'm just going to take that deep breath. I'm going to stay calm and trust in the Lord while I wait. Because if I do so, whatever I get is going to be better than whatever it is that I do by jumping ship. Because when I get impatient, I lose my peace. I frustrate all my relationships. I really mess up God's best plan for my life. Can I get an amen? So James' encouragement today is for you and I to be patient. Can I get an amen? Well, church, I love you. God bless you. I will see you tomorrow.